So, in today's news, surprise job loss, a surging Tesla, and a potential UK market exodus all in one lump. What a day it was yesterday. All of the markets were hit hard with America's big job loss report. So, we're going to dive into this in a little bit more detail today. My name is Oliver. I'm bringing you the latest market update news and insights from my investing journey and the current market. If any of this helps you and you wake up and you get a little bit of information, you feel a little bit smarter, please do like, subscribe, and comment below. I read every single comment. Your opinion matters massively. So let's start some comments in the thread because I want to hear your opinion about everything we discuss today. So, market overview. It was a bit of a mix yesterday, to say the least. The Dow Jones barely moved. It was flat like a pancake yesterday. But the SP 500 and the Nasdaq, they were cruising. The SP added 0.5% yesterday, and the Nasdaq jumped up nearly 0.9%, both hitting fresh record highs. Fantastic news for the market. That's kind of like the market saying, yeah, the economy looks like a little bit shaky, but we're still feeling good about tech and growth stocks. And as of this morning, the SP 500 futures are slightly green as well. Not much, 0.07% up this morning on the SP 500 after hours, but it does give us a slightly optimistic look for the day. So a great start. Let's see if that trend or that momentum continues. If we move over to the chart for the SP 500 here, let's have a little look. As you can see, there it is, nearly 0.5% yesterday. Oh, it's now 0.01%. It's taken a little bit of dip since we first started this video. So let's keep an eye on that. The RSI is fairly high. This is all on the one-day chart, by the way. The MA 100 is still over the MA 200. We are looking positive on the one-day MACD as well on the histogram. So there is a lot of uptrend, but when the RSI gets this high, there is always a big potential for a pullback, especially as it's smashing all-time highs one day after the other at the moment. So do be cautious about that. So going back to the stories of the day, here's a bit of a head scratcher. So it actually makes sense when you look a little bit deeper into it. Tesla just reported that over 384,000 vehicles were delivered for Q2. That's actually down 14% compared to last year, and it marks their second drop in a row. But you would think that stock would actually plummet. I think it would sink, but that didn't happen. Instead, it actually jumped up 5%. Why? Well, that's because those numbers actually beat the expectations. So in this game, it's all about beating the forecast. Even if those numbers come in lower, but it beats the expectations, it's going to jump up. It's not just about the raw numbers. On top of that, something else to help the mood, Tesla's sales grew in China, so that's a good start. It's the first time in 9 months, and there's growing excitement for its robo-taxi ambitions. Now, there was a big jump in the market following the launch of their robo-taxi recently. Essentially, they are self-driving taxis that could essentially shake up the ride-hailing world. I wonder if this is going to give companies like Bolt and Uber a run for their money, but how much would you trust getting in a fully automated taxi with no driver? Now, looking at the chart, if we go to Tesla at the moment, we are looking They go 5% up as well. That was yesterday. The MAs are all over each other, 50 over 100, 100 over 200. The RSI is around 48 at the moment. If that crosses over the 50, it will be positive. Anything above 50, between 50 and 70, actually means that there's essentially an uptrend. Okay, you can already see it here, but this will give a little bit more solidity to that as well. What we want to do is break through this resistance here. Ideally, if it continues up, hopefully it will blast through this one and this one as well. This is the resistance that it needs to push through, but you can see the trend line here as well. It is moving in a nice bullish momentum, so let's hope that continues. In other news, moving on from Tesla, it wasn't the only thing that were making waves in the market. Apple. Now, I actually did a little video on Apple yesterday saying it's not the most exciting stock in my opinion. However, Jefferies upgraded stock, saying that it has a huge amount of upside potential thanks to its AI push and strong ecosystem. As you know, Apple is everywhere. They do a little bit of everything now. You can't really avoid them. So it gave the stock a little bit of a boost. Thank you, Jefferies, to Apple. Nike also laced up for a very strong session. It rised up 4% after Trump's Vietnam trade deal announcement. This, according to my research, matters because Nike manufactures a lot of its gear in Vietnam. So even with the new tariff deals emerging, investors like Nike's plan to shift their supply chains and raise the prices. So that is a positive as well. If we move to the charts, let's take a little bit of a look at Nike. Here we are. Look at that. That was a huge jump up, a nice 4%. The RSI on the 1 day, once again, is really high. So there is nothing to say that after this huge drop that it's had for really quite some time, look at that, since December 21, it has been going down. There is nothing to say that a lot of the current investors, the large institutions, are going to sell off, and that is going to pull back, and they're just going to take profit for what they can right now and ditch it. So keep an eye on that. But if that trend continues, it's going to be good news for Nike. Whether it will, we will see. And if that sounds good, there's a rough part to this. The ADP jobs report dropped a bit of a bomb. Instead of adding 100,000 private jobs like the economists expected, the US actually lost 33,000 in June. It was a huge surprise and instantly triggered recession fears, especially with the official jobs report, the non-farm payrolls coming this Friday. So here's what you need to know. The ADP tracks private sector jobs, whilst the NFP includes government and broader data. This is all a learning curve. If you're new to this, I'm going to keep doing this so that you understand what each thing means. Everyone's on a learning journey, right? The ADP's report isn't always aligned with official numbers, but it can still spook the market. It is a big thing over in the US. Smaller companies this time round were hit the hardest, especially in the services sector. So think restaurants, retail, and hospitality. Okay, so keep a big eye open on the news coming out tomorrow. That could make some waves in the market. In other news in tech, let's move to Microsoft. Microsoft is laying off 9,000 people despite sitting on record profits. What a kick. That's on top of the 6,000 job cuts that it made earlier this year. They say it's about streamlining their operations and essentially trimming the fat as they grow into cloud computing. The stock is still at an absolute record high, which is great news. That shows that the investors actually believe in its long-term strategy. The RSI, from what I recall, is quite high. Let's have a little look here. Microsoft 3. Look at that. It's been sitting at over the 70 line now since May. There is a high chance it's going to continue. It is Microsoft after all. It is looking positive. Look at that. It's been going on for quite some time, just constant uptrend. The only pullback it's ever really had was 2021 and a little bit in 23 as well, and a little bit in July 24. So it's looking positive on that front. Let's see if that trend continues, which it most likely will, seeing the historic events that it's had. In other news, if you do decide you want to get into investing and you think that some of these stocks are of interest to you, I use eToro for my day-to-day investing. It's where I research, trade, and track everything from stocks and crypto. Although I don't do a lot in crypto, I do a lot in the stock market. What I really love is the beginner-friendly side to it. The UI is beautiful. It's packed full of really powerful tools. And you can use their copy trader feature, which automatically copies top investors in real time. So it's like having a pro manage part of your portfolio, but you don't have to do anything. If he buys, you buy. If he sells, you sell. It completely copies their account. You can start with a free demo account just to practice at first. There's no risk to that. It still gives you the market experience. So if you're thinking of getting into investing, it is a great place to begin. Click the link below in the bio and it will take you straight through to the sign up page to set up your demo. Please remember, your capital is always at risk. That is why I advise using a demo first so you understand the markets and how it works. Or go ahead and use one of the popular investors on there and copy one of the professionals who knows what they are doing. Zooming out from individual stocks at the moment, looking at Europe and Vietnam. European stocks actually opened a lot higher today, despite some of the UK political drama brewing, and news that AstraZeneca might ditch London, instead listing a move to the USA, which would be a huge kick in the nuts for the UK, especially for their financial reputation, and if more companies follow suit. There is a bit of an exodus going on by the looks of things in the UK, which is a huge shame. So keep a close eye on that as well. In other moves, Vietnam. This was a huge thing that I read about this morning. Vietnam has now struck a new trade deal with the USA, but it comes with one hell of a catch. Oh my God. Tariffs are up to 40% on some of the goods, which is huge. Still, the Vietnamese stocks surged, and companies like Nike and Lululemon, who are both heavily tied to Vietnamese production, are adjusting. So there are lots of positives there, even though there's a 40% tariff that has been put in place. My question is, what is going to happen on the 9th of July when all of the rest of the EU, for example, have to have a deal with the US? Otherwise, they're going to have big tariffs basically stuck to them as well. It could really hit the market, so keep an eye on that. Other movers in the market, BKKT soared 32%. There was no major news. It was just a huge momentum in crypto payment plays. You have Rigetti Computing that jumped 15%, which has been riding the quantum tech hype. The word on the street is quantum is going to be the next thing after AI. So take a good look at the quantum stocks at the moment. They are absolutely skyrocketing. If there's any time to get into those, it is now. Do a little bit DCAing into quantum stocks, and you never know. Leave it there for 5-10 years. Could be a good move. United Health dropped 6% due to the regulatory worries and the healthcare rotation. That has had a huge hit over the last sort of month or so. Looking at the chart, it has absolutely dropped from a high of around 53%. Will it turn around and go bullish again? Who knows? We'll have to keep an eye on the news. If this RSI crosses over into bullish territory, hopefully this will start to turn around. We will just have to wait and see, but it has been a really rough ride for United Health Group recently. CNC plunged 40%. Very, very, very dramatic, probably due to their earnings and the guidance changes. Keep an eye out for updates on that as well. If you are in CNC, 40% drop. Woo, one absolute kick in one day. What to watch? Ooh, this is the big one. So we've got the non-farm payrolls data coming out. The forecast is 100K with unemployment ticking up to 4.2%. Could seriously shift interest rate expectations. We also will see the ISM services PMI, which will tell us how service businesses are doing. Anything below 50 means contraction. As well as that, you've got the Fed's Bostic speaks, so traders will listen closely for any rate hints. So it won't necessarily say we are going to change the rate or have an increase or decrease, but there could be some hints there. That will be today as well. And one more thing before we do wrap up, Amazon Prime's Day is turning into Prime Week. Very interesting. The event will run for 96 hours this year, and Bank of America expects over $21 billion in sales, up 60% last year. So on Prime Day, there's a huge amount of discounts that are pushed out. They are not doing it for one day now. It's going to be one whole week. So prepare for Amazon to throw as many products at you as possible. Amazon are hoping to gain a lot more new subscribers, boost their ad revenue, and show off the retail tech. But the profit margins might get slightly squeezed. So let's see what happens there. So that ends the update for today. Just keep an eye on Tesla's delivery momentum and those NFP job data that's going to be released. This could really impact the whole market. If you're watching crypto, Ethereum's breakout could be one to watch as well. Just remember, it's still down 75% from its all-time high. This is one reason why I don't really do a lot of crypto. That is a huge drop. But then again, if it rebounds, you can make a ton of money out of it as well. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I will be back tomorrow for another news update. Until then, stay focused, keep learning, follow the Dividend Drip, subscribe, like, comment below. Your capital is always at risk. Please remember, I think it is best for you to use a demo account, learn what you can, understand the market, and get stuck in, okay? Been great talking to you all. Have a great day.